Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. I am Abigail and today I am going to be comparing Crayola markers to Copic markers. So I have here line art that I'm going to color. It is slightly different because I decided to give them each a little bit of an advantage by putting them on paper that I felt like would hold them nicely. So this is going to be the Copic marker side and this is on Express It blending card, and then this is going to be the Crayola marker side and it is on some cardstock, so it's a little thicker. And now this artwork is actually from my Witch series, so I am going to be trying to color her similar to this. So let's get started. So we're gonna start with the Crayola. So the 3 packs of Crayola markers that I have are the Crayola Around the World, the Bright and Bold, and then just kind of a basic pack of super tips, so the smaller ones. And so I started in with a light color for her skin. And I actually am really impressed with Crayola markers. A couple videos ago and this one, obviously I'm using them, and I really just was impressed. I love that they made the skin tone thing the skin tone set, because I just really feel like you can actually create like people. You can use them for character art. Before they were fun, it's like a little kid, but you either had to go back in with colored pencil or all of your people were white, as in like paper white, or orange, or brown. And now brown isn't bad, but the brown was just so saturated. It didn't feel real, and it was too dark to layer any pinks or anything on top of it to make it feel like a real skin tone. And so I love using this set. And I did learn my lesson from my last video about how to actually kind of layer these without letting them eat the paper. So what I would do is I would wait for each kind of layer to dry a little bit before I went in with a different color, and that really helped. It's not that they blend super well, because they don't. They're water-based markers. I have seen people try to use actual water, like they color on to a palette and then put water on it, and I thought about doing that, but I decided against it because not everybody who wants to, color or use markers wants to get out like an entire painting setup. At that point, for the same price, you can go pick up a pack of pretty cheap watercolors, so it's not that big of a deal. So over there, there is a gradient on her dress, so I was just kind of trying to figure out what markers I wanted to use for the gradient. And so she looks really not exactly like the colors I'm going for quite yet, because like I said, I layer them, so I would lay down the blue and I go back in with a gray to mute it. And besides the fact that it just was really saturated, I couldn't find they just don't have any desaturated colors. It turned out great. I really did like it, so I definitely think that there'll be more Crayola art in the future. So, especially since right now, quite a few of my Copics are dying and I need to buy refills for them, and I'm too lazy to do that. So Crayola art it might end up being. And the one problem I did kind of run into is there wasn't really like a super light color, so that's the thing. Unless you're looking for light colors, as in the skin tones, they are really just bright colors. They're mid to dark tone. So for the supposed to be the light blue / white kind of part on her dress, I just went in with a cream, which wasn't ideal, but I really did like it. I don't think it took anything away from the piece for me. So, and I did kind of achieve a bit of that like green, because there is a tiny bit of a green tint in the ombre part of her dress that I just couldn't quite achieve, but it's there like a tiny bit from the cream color getting put with that blue. And here I am just using a darker skin tone to give some shadows. I made sure to choose one that had a little bit more of an orangey tone to it, because I really do like that in my shadows. I feel like it makes, it really makes it look more realistic. I don't have, the only thing too with this is, I keep saying the only thing, one of the few things that I had against this is just, there isn't, like I said, because there isn't any light colors, it makes it really hard to try to layer in some shadows and stuff. So yeah, like they have a light purple, but it's not really that light, so it doesn't quite work, and that's usually what I use for shadows. But, and then you can see there, I had went over the corset part of her dress with the gray to make it the desaturated blue, and here I'm doing her hair with the black. There, I'm blending it a little bit more with the blue. And now for the hat, I'm starting in with the blue again. It's going to be, the hat in the original drawing was really dark, but it wasn't actually black. It was a really, really dark blue. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm starting with that really, really bright blue, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the corset. I'm going to go back over it in a little bit, so that way it dries a bit, with the gray. So here's where I try shading with that purple. It shades the lighter blues really nicely, but it does not shade the skin near as nicely as I would have hoped. But that's all right. I still really did enjoy how it ended up turning out. So I really hope you like it too. And I really think that, you know, I have learned a lesson over the years is that it's not necessarily, to a certain extent, it's not the materials you're using, it's your own skill and your own practice and whatnot. So like, I really think if you can't afford, you know, the Copic markers, the Prismacolor markers, even the Ohuhu markers, enough practice, you can use Crayola markers and you can make fantastic artwork with it. I wouldn't say mine is necessarily fantastic, but I mean, it really does look a lot better than some of the stuff even when I first had Copics, and this looks better than that because it was my skill level, not the materials. So here I'm coloring the little bit of water magic. The one thing I don't like about working traditionally compared to digitally, traditionally is my favorite way. I love painting, and I like Copics, and I love markers and colored pencils and all of the things. Sketching with a pencil and paper is my favorite. But there's just, you can't quite add the same fun effects that you can in digital, where you can just do like a nice little, layer on top, lighten the opacity with like a light color, and then there you go, it's glowing, you know, and just can't quite do that. I mean, sometimes, some people are really talented with markers, and you can do that, but you have to like plan it into your, you can't lay a flat color and then like color that's darker and then go back in and have a light, yeah, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. The other thing that makes it frustrating is the white gel pen does not lay very nicely over top of the Crayola markers. And that's not because of anything. It's because I didn't wait for them to dry. If I had waited for it to completely dry before I went back in with the pen, it would have worked fantastically. But I didn't for the sake of the video, so in some places it was really, really like absorbing in the color, and it didn't end up being as bright as I wanted to, or it didn't like work as well. Like it just didn't, I couldn't get it to write over top of the wet colors still. But we are almost done. I'm touching up I'm kind of a messy colorer, so I'm touching up the outer edge, and there was a little inked sparkles. And so there she is. The Crayola girl is done. Now on to the Copic. Now, Copic markers are like my favorite thing. Just the biggest difference, I feel like, in quality is just the fact that they are alcohol based, and so they just blend so beautifully. Like the skin, just chef's kiss perfect, you know? Like they just, you can layer and layer and layer, and it doesn't eat the paper. Yeah, sometimes you do have to worry about like ink bleeding through, or sometimes it just gets to a point where it's muddy versus like like nice and saturated if you're blending too many colors, but it's just so good. I just love them so much. And I did get to use, like, I had some desaturated blues, and like the blending, like instead of just layering like the gray over the blue, it blends together. So it looks like I colored it with that color marker instead of two different colors. So here I am choosing a orangey skin tone again to shade, and then I go back over it with a violet color to darken it / make it look a little like in the darkest parts of the shadow a little more desaturated. So if you do like this artwork though, the original drawing is, like I had said in the beginning of the video, part of my witch series, and it was a series of drawings that I did as prints for my Etsy shop. You can find them as prints and as bullet journal sticker sheets. They are really, really cool. I personally use them in my bullet journal all the time, but you can find the link to my Etsy shop down below in the description. And while I'm at it, I might as well plug a bit of myself. If you like this video, if you like me, if you like my art, whatever, please consider liking this video, subscribing, following my Instagram, whatever it is. That's cool. So here again, I'm starting with the hair with blue. I like to build it up because her hair really wasn't, I didn't use a complete, like a total black in the artwork digitally, but here I just don't have that many different kinds of colors as you can when you're doing digital, so I do go in later with black. Another thing I do like with the Copics is they just do lay down smoother than the Crayola, but if you are careful, you can get the Crayola markers to lay down really smooth, and that was something that I figured out, especially with the skin tone ones. That was something I realized when I was doing my last video I was just doing a little princess with my Crayola markers, and just the skin tones really laid down really nicely. So back to the video, back to the drawing at hand. I did have kind of an icy green blue color that worked perfect for the little touch of green that was supposed to be in the ombre. And I have a very, very, very light blue, one of my favorites. This is one of the few I do remember the name for, and it's called Pale Porcelain Blue. One of my favorites. It's one of my oldest markers. I think it was when I bought all of my I bought all of my Copic markers individually when I got my first job when I was 16. So I'd buy them in groups of usually like 3 to 5. I think the most I'd ever bought at one time was like 7. And I'm pretty sure that Pale Porcelain Blue was in the first 3 that I bought. So it was pretty cool. I loved the little magic bottle thing that I drew with her. That little water is just, it's so beautiful. And in the original drawing and here, I make sure to use a bit of a purplier blue. I don't know, it just made it stick out from her, and it was just fun, you know? I just love magical elements to things. So there I am layering my dark gray on top of the blue to kind of desaturate it a bit on her bodice there, and it was cute. And I go back in with the blue to make it a little less gray because I do want it more blue, just not so bright. And then I realized I could not color it blue first, and color it gray first, and then it'll be better the first time around. So when I go for the hat, I start with the gray and then color blue, and it did work much better. So and there I am adding a little shading with my lavender to the skirts and the rest of the dress. And I colored the details of like the choker at her neck and the little pretty jewels. I go add some more shading with the blue because that purple was a little light for what I had wanted. And there's me finishing off the hair with some black. I do go back in with my pale porcelain blue at some point and color in the white spots with the blue, because when I am doing traditional art, I don't like to leave white spaces actually white. I like, like highlights, I like to color them a lighter color so I can go back in with a gel pen and add in my detail on top of it. So there I am. The gel pen I use is a Uniball jelly roll one or gel one, whatever. And it is my favorite one by far. I do sometimes, when they get a little old, have some trouble with it not writing, but they're cheap enough that I don't mind just buying another one if that bothers me too bad. And I add the finishing touch and sparklies to it, which are my favorite thing to add, by the way. I love adding sparkles. It just makes everything look so much more magical. And I almost had forgotten to the little sparkles, and I was able to color them with my pale porcelain blue and then to put white on the inside of them, so that was fun. Make them look more glowy. And then the Copic side is done. Let me know what you think, which one you liked better, because see, the skin ended up really nice on that one, and they're both so good. I don't know which to choose. Bye!